Your aim is to be too good to follow.
So you have seen marriages collapse by someone pursuing a career in comedy which failed?
A room of humans can see straight through you.
And in your 35 years, how long did it take you to progress through those stages? This is The Boardroom. I'm Richard Farleigh. Today's guest is a bit of a change for The Boardroom. You might have seen him doing stand-up, watched him as a guest on a panel show, or maybe even heard his voice narrating a very dramatic reality TV series, X on the Beach. Welcome to The Boardroom, Andrew.
All right, let's do this thing.
It's lovely to chat to you. You always make me laugh. Funny about that, isn't it? You should be a comedian.
Well, I've always found your company very convivial, Richard. So
I think you steal my jokes.
well, possibly.
So we're going to try and play a bit of chess.
Okay.
And have you played much?
I used to play with my sister when I was a kid, and I haven't played in a really, really, really long time.
Right. Oh well, I can go easy on you.
I think you're going to have to do it.
Let's make a couple of moves.
All right.
You obviously, having known you a few years now,
Yeah.
we've normally been at some party having a couple of beers,
Yes,
as the Irish and the Aussies like to do.
Yes.
You're obviously well read, which I've noticed from our mutual friend Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
But he's very well read as well. But you're obviously well read. Is that part of? Must be. Do you draw a lot in comedy from being educated?
Sure. It's that sort of thing of it's sort of. The knowledge is almost the fertilizer on the land, yeah? It's not the crop in itself, but you must stay as intellectually engaged as you possibly can do as a comedian to have a comedic mind, Now, whether it's cart before the horse, whether those personality types psychologically are more likely to become comedians and to see those strange little gaps in reality that are the punchline.
Do you think there's a standard joke?
Well, I think people have tried to standardise it, but it's impossible. There's also the completely free radical thing of charisma.
Mm.
Some people I've seen over the years. I was out in Austin, Texas recently working at the Mothership, Joe Rogan's comedy club, and one of the other big shows there is Kill Tony. Now, Kill Tony is essentially a gong show, right? But it's massive. It's massive. You've got Tony Hinchcliffe and three other famous comedians, a live band, a live audience, and all these lunatics come out one at a time, and they have a minute of fame.
Amateurs.
They're amateurs, or some of them aren't. Some of them, but there's one guy who's done really well, and he's an Estonian comedian. So, but they all come out for that 1 minute, and it's fascinating. Even after all these, I've been in the game for 35 years. Just fascinating, just seeing that weird alchemy of they come out, they get to the microphone, and you just, before they've even picked the microphone up, man, woman, young or old, it's totally irrelevant. Black, white, gay, straight, doesn't matter. Some of them are just, they're about to die.
Oh, they're going to fail.
They're going to fail.
And equally, do you ever see anyone walk out the stage and you
know they're going to and I'm looking at all these people because I was up on the balcony watching the show a couple of weeks back when I was in Austin, and I was just like, what is this? Even after 35 years, what is that chemistry? What is that the alchemy of it? And it is that sort of thing of it's almost impossible to second guess. And it's not just confidence, because some guys come out with swagger and they've and the audience is like irrelevant. Then somebody can come out like a nervous wretch and just bang.
So how do you like to feel what if you're feeling a bit flat, or you've had some bad news, or you're just in a bad mood, or you haven't slept well? Do you ever have to walk on the stage? When I've done public speaking, I've always thought that the best way I can feel is the butterflies. If I walk on and I don't really care, if I feel too relaxed, it's I've got no energy. But if I'm really nervous, then that immediately is I mean, you probably don't get nervous, but when you're not,
I can do.
When I do get nervous, it's hard to hide that, and when you start trying to hide nerve, so I've found the best way to do that. If I'm nervous, I just say, sorry, I'm a bit nervous, I'll calm down. It's just it's a very brilliant audience here, it's quite a big gig. Like, I'll try to compliment them.
Absolutely, yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, exactly. I think, there is that wisdom of crowds, like one-to-one, they mightn't be able to read you, but a room of humans can see straight through you, right? In a profound way. They can completely
So you've never felt, you don't feel nervous, so you've never had to deal with that?
I do feel nervous. I mean, I feel confident that, with the data set of 35 years of comedy, what us comedians call is our gold. Our gold is material that works every time.
Repeatable, is it?
It's stuff that just works. It just,
So if a formula that works, or you mean the same jokes that you can tell?
It's those jokes that have worked 100 times before are 99% likely to win again. And you can then build that. That's the sort of architecture that you can build your set around. So you can go onto stage confident knowing that this opening gag is going to work. It's worked in so many other settings, I did 2 private functions this week. I did an event for the National Farmers Union. They were actually awesome. They were really great. Up in Birmingham. And then 2 days later in Bishopsgate, it was an online security conference awards do. Now, on paper, they're very different sectors, right? Farming and tech. But I still knew, looking out that room, that the material I was going to open with would work in both those settings because it's gold.
You just said something there. Do you ever judge an audience when you walk out immediately? Different types?
You have to read that room instantly.
And
look like you haven't.
Do you change your content slightly?
Oh, I will. Again, if it's a private function, which in our business we just call corporates. They're called corporates. I'll get there beforehand. And, I'll look out the room. I'll
peek out from behind the curtain?
Yeah, or just, it's a function room. They're probably not looking at you. So you can kind of walk the room pretty much undetected or noticed. It depends what sector they are, how old they are. Is there a meal or is it straight to an event? Is it a daytime thing? Daytime audiences are profoundly different to evening audiences for all sorts of reasons. Yeah. What time you're meant to be going on at? Are you handing out awards? Because that's, that was one of them this week was you do 15 minutes of stand-up, 20 minutes, get them ready, and then you're handing out their gongs. And, that's a different thing because they're going to be better behaved because they're like, oh, shit, this guy's going to be potentially giving me my head bottle washer of the year award, Yeah. So it's all those sort of things. You kind of read the room. And if it's an actual comedy gig, so say it's a theatre, right? And you're in the wings. That minute before you go on, literally hearing the hubbub in that room will tell you how well it's going to go. If they're quiet,
and that's 30 years of experience.
Yeah, you can actually hear it. Yeah, you can hear the pitch.
Yes,
of their hubbub.
If you're doing a comedy club or something like that, and the person before you has been fantastic, do you consider the audience warmed up and they want to laugh, or do you consider that a bit like that's a hard act to follow?
Well, like the expression goes, it's a hard act to follow. That's how you work your way up through the strata of the circuit, right? You start off as an open spot. That's where you go on stage for 5 minutes for no money. And if you get good enough at 5 minutes for no money, you'll get what's called a half spot, which is 10 minutes, and you'll be paid, depending on the club, say 50 quid, and you work on that 10 minutes. And then the next stage you want to get to is getting a full 20. That's a spot. You'll be on in the middle, say that headliner's on last, MC, opening act, middle act. The middle act is the weakest one.
Right.
That's where the weak act is hidden in the bill, right? So you get there. Your aim there is to get good enough that you're then considered good enough to be the opening act, because a lot hinges on the opener, right? And once you get to there, your aim is to be too good to follow, right? Where you've completely ripped it. That's the aim, to make yourself unfollowable.
And in your 35 years, how long did it take you to progress through those stages?
I started doing stand-up when I was 17. So it's just been my act has matured as I have matured, you know what I mean? But I was headlining clubs in my early 20s.
Were you good at school?
No. I mean, I loved learning, but what I wasn't good at was preparing for and then executing exams. It was awful.
Which in a way now you are preparing for all the time. You've been doing it for 35 years, but you are preparation and delivery now.
Well, it's the love of learning. All comedians love to learn because, like I said, we just don't know when some little piece of trivia from a town becomes gold. It's probably going to be unreplicable, but like there's just those tiny things that comedians are seeing, you know. I was in last autumn. I supported Jimmy Carr on tour and Jim Jeffries. I did these two wonderful tours back to back, and we were in Cardiff. And one day, month beforehand, I'd just been doing the comedy club in Cardiff, which is called the Glee Club, and I'd walk through this neighbourhood. I think it's called Grangetown, and it's a bit down at heel, right? And there was just a lot of shite lying around, right? And I went on stage. I went sort of, you know, lovely. I walked out to Penarth, which is a beautiful, wealthy suburb up on a hill, up on a cliff edge. And I walked out to Penarth and walked through Grangetown. And the whole crowd went, ooh. Yeah, I went, oh, no. Grangetown's a lovely place to dump a mattress. Right? and everybody, like, because they'd all seen it. There was just abandoned mattresses all around Grangetown. And that's a weird little detail that if you know what I mean, it's a form of compliment. It's like if somebody goes, "Hey, did you get your hair cut?"
It's taking an interest in their life and in
the minutiae of their actual lives.
Right.
You know what I mean? It opens up them. They're like, "Oh, this guy's serious. This guy's serious about us."
With comedy, has the risk of being cancelled? I think Jimmy Carr says he's already told the joke that he will be cancelled for because it's out there somewhere. But is the risk of you being cancelled, is that your biggest risk now that you're a successful comedian?
I think an awful lot of it was overblown, and seemingly an awful lot of people who have got cancelled seem to be still very much on, in the spirit. You know, if anything, it gives you something else to sell yourself as. Indifference is the enemy in show business. Indifference is the enemy in show business.
Okay.
Yeah? Where you just fade out of relevance.
Where you could say something insulting and no one even notices.
Yeah, exactly. The tree is fallen in the woods and nobody gave a fuck. The lumberjack was having a nap.
Well, I comment sometimes on politics and economics on radio or TV, and you have to be so careful what you say, because I was an economist, and even if you try to give a balanced view, like, I was on radio talking about the budget, and I said, oh, well, this wealth, a wealth tax may not be a good idea right now, and you just get hammered. It's getting hard to give, even if you're trying to give a balanced viewpoint on anything.
Sure, but I mean that's how the algorithm was set up. I mean, right from the start, social media, and the internet, full stop. They had two business models they could have gone for. They could have gone for subscription, in the way that you pay for, say, The Economist or Netflix or something like that, or it could be all free and paid through ads. And they went with paid through ads. And that means keeping people's eyeballs on. Silicon Valley employed some of the finest minds in psychology and sociology and all the rest of it to keep you there. And it didn't take them long to discover that the emotion that would keep people on the platform, any given platform, the longest, is anger.
Right. So if you can't make them laugh, you make them angry.
Yeah, and that's why in any kind of setting, whether you're talking about the budget or you're doing an edgy routine, what you're going to get back in the comment section is all anger.
Yes, and even if people support you, let's make a couple of moves.
Right up.
Has technology changed comedy at all?
Well, it's completely changed how we as comedians interact with the audience. Okay? It's not say one system's better than the other, but the world of comedy in the last it was all speeding up, but particularly post-COVID and all the rest of it. The four horsemen of the comedy industry now are podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. That's it. And there is, in each one of those, there is comedians that have become arena comedians. From those.
From starting out with that?
With those.
So you can launch a career. You were talking before about going through the stages of performing. Now you can actually start online. You can start the social media 100%. As a comedian.
Absolutely. There's guys who are sort of going in the inverse. The other. So how it used to be was there was the act. There was the audience out there, the millions of people, and the only way was through the circuit. Right? Yes. And then from the circuit, you would go to comedy festivals like Just for Laugh in Montreal, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Melbourne Comedy Festival, You'd work your way up to there in the hope that you'd be discovered by this essentially show business bureaucracy, which you could call agents, managers, TV and radio producers. Yeah, that was, tour managers, tour bookers, all the rest of it. That's how you got to.
And how is it now?
Well, that still exists, but there's also, you can just, it's like, that's the analog world. We're now in a digital world where you can just go straight to the audience. That switch over in my business from sort of analog to digital, like, you always had to be essentially an entrepreneur in show business, but there was a whole class of people between you and the audience. Now you are just directly an entrepreneur.
Like Justin Bieber became famous online.
Bang. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
So you are directly. You still need, trust me, you still need support from specialists in your industry to grow it and maintain it.
But you took a bigger risk maybe than someone now who starts on TikTok and almost does it for free.
Well, I don't know. I mean, again, come back to, I was so young. I had, there wasn't really a risk. With the big risk in sort of, if you start comedy, there's sort of, the ages you start at are either 18, 28 or 35, right? You either start straight from school and go, I just want to do this. I want the laughter in the playground and in the dining hall at school to never end, right? Which was me. or you have that instinct, but you go, I'll go to university and maybe I'll do something in their Amdram society in university and I'll get a bit of a taste for it, but I still, need to follow my legal career or blah, 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 or whatever. And you get to your sort of mid-20s, late 20s, and your friends are all settling down and you're like, I've got to try this, right? And that's incredibly disruptive to your actual grown-up career and potentially to a relationship, which brings you to the third phase around 35. And that's around your, like, that long-term relationship, whether it's a marriage or you just live together, that's going to collapse.
Right. Have you seen that happen? Have you seen people burn their whole lives?
Because it's the lifestyle of a traveling entertainer is you're away a lot.
So you have seen marriages collapse by someone pursuing a career in comedy which failed?
100%. No, the career can work, but like the relationship is going to really struggle.
Even if a career succeeds in comedy, it can destroy your marriage.
Correct.
You've been lucky to.
Yeah, well, the thing is, in my case, I started so young. I started before I even had a girlfriend. Everybody that ever got into any kind of relationship with me always knew they were getting into a relationship with a comedian. Whereas what I'm saying is, somebody could fall in love with somebody and go, I'm falling in love with a promising young architect, right? And then next thing, they're leaving the house with a sports bag full of props.
And he's not even that funny. So
no, again, you don't know. It's that alchemy of the stage. I mean, is that the same, in the world of being an entrepreneur or founder? Does that affect
I think so. I've seen people people get obsessed with a business idea, and I think we all overrate what we invent ourselves. I mean, in general, many people overrate what they invent themselves. So someone can invent a new type of paperclip and they become obsessed with it. And it starts with something small, like, okay, we'll just put a bit of money in this and 1 day a week. And they can get obsessed and end up spending way too much time, and then they want to mortgage the house and they want to leave. And I have seen plenty of marriages collapse. And again, like you, where the business ended up working. But because business, I don't know the ratio in comedy, but the business ratio is so bad, they say 90% of new businesses fail.
Right.
There's a lot of more marriages failing than successful businesses.
Yeah.
Is the common belief about the sad clown true?
Well, this is great. Jerry Seinfeld had a great answer to this years ago. So obviously, comedians, like everybody else, you have your ups and downs. And obviously some comedians might be more biochemically, liable to suffer from, say, depression or anxiety or any other condition. But the reason why it's mentioned is because it has a journalistic lyricism to it.
It sounds good.
Yeah, it's the clown with the frown, the tart with the heart. He or she's sad, but they make everybody else laugh. he or she really wants love, but they're giving their body for money, right? They has that lyrics.
So you don't think it's true, but I mean, I've heard.
I think it's true. I think it's just that we discount everybody else. Like as Jerry Seinfeld said, nobody gives a fuck about how the man who's driving the bread truck at 5 a.m. is feeling, right? Because nobody cares about the
guy driving the bread truck is not smiling on stage and making other people laugh.
No, true. But you understand what I'm saying. I think it's.
Yes.
I don't.
But also maybe people notice the outliers. So
That's right.
The majority might be quite happy comedians, but the people notice the ones who aren't.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it just has that lyricism to it. It has that journalistic hook.
It'd be interesting to see what you think about management, because management in business to me is a rare skill. It's not the product. So it's almost like it's not the joke, whether the joke is any good or not. It's whether the person telling it can do it, can get away with it. I've seen mundane ideas work, but mundane ideas work with good management. It's all about the management.
It's the execution of it.
Yeah, so it's all about the execution. I see it all the time. And new managers come in, that, like all of us, we think we're funny or we think this or that. They don't want to listen to other people's advice, or they don't look around at what's happening around them. They just get this blind belief that it will work. Now, sometimes obviously that's a strength, because that ends up being a success
to move forward.
But a lot of the times, it's the pig-headedness is not always a good idea.
Sure. The equivalent in my business is, it's like time immemorial in the television industry or broadcast in general, where a new producer or a new commissioner will come in, and you've been developing this idea with somebody within the company, sometimes developing an idea for a sitcom or a panel show or whatever. This takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, and then they come in, and the expression in our business is the new broom. New brooms, like sweeping all those, it's come in there going, oh, well, no, none of these.
Right.
I'm going to make my stamp on it, but that's, but without a doubt, look, come back to what we were talking about, the YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, podcasts, your direct access to the audience. It's universal, and there's 8 billion of us on the planet. The potential for growth is vast, but that doesn't mean it's not like horses and carts being wiped out by cars. You still need, in our business, management. You still need people that are good agents, good producers, good man managers,
And is there a type of person who's a good comedian? Do you need to be funny at school?
No.
Do you need
like
to be,
I said,
do you need to be clever? You probably do need to be clever, don't you?
Some people could, I would say, probably have more low cunning than clever, but you do have to have a spark. There has to be something special about you.
Yeah, I think you've obviously met so many, but the comedians I've met are generally clever people and often quite educated, but certainly clever. To spot patterns, because like in business, it's about spotting patterns. Comedy is really about spotting patterns.
Where's the spread here?
And the unexpected, I won't go into the science of it because you probably know better than I do, but the unexpected ending is spotting a pattern, isn't it? And seeing what people like.
Absolutely. And then it comes into the actual mechanics of the language, linguistics. Germans have a perfectly good sense of humour. I used to live in Germany when I was a teenager. They have a sense of humour, but what they suffer from is the verb is the last word in the sentence.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So whereas in English, the punchline is usually a noun.
Okay.
Right? So you're the setup to you're finding out what's happening. The verb is telling you what's happening. And the adjectives and
Yoda in Star Wars was never that funny, I suppose.
Exactly. Well, he's literally speaking in a Yiddish syntax, yes, right? He's speaking a German syntax.
Do you notice a difference between American and British comedy?
The difference is thus: it's America, and then the rest is Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Britain, and Ireland. They're two almost like Samsung and iPhone. They're different verbal operating models.
Would you tell a joke differently in those two?
Have to.
Places?
You absolutely have to. It's very similar to how you've got to. For the last couple of years, I've had a comedy podcast called Egypts of the World with my friend Glenn Wool, Canadian comic. We're just about to start a new series, in fact. And my son produced the sort of hour-long video and then making the clips and learning the process of making. So you've got a gangbusters funny routine that the two of you have improvised about anything. It could be politics, it could be a ridiculous event, Idiots of the world is reviewing the biggest idiots of the week, right? But what we learned is, to stop that scroll on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Shorts, right? To make the thumb stop. You have to do it the way American stand-up is. Your literally opening line is what it's about, right? My wife ran off with a chimpanzee, right? And then you work back from that. That's the only way you're going to stop it.
Right.
You don't start out. Whereas in Canada, Australia, Ireland,
who did my wife run off with?
Yeah, it'll start off.
I had a wife.
We'll start off with I had a bad day at the zoo. I went to the right, and then because we see it in a narrative.
Yes.
Whereas Americans, it's declarative.
Well, thanks for coming on. Huh? I mean, it's been fun. You've been quite funny. Where can we see more of you?
Well, not at a chess tournament anyway. I'm not going to be competing against the most autistic man in Iceland anytime soon.
Well, where will we see you?
Well, at the end of this month at the Altitude Comedy Festival in Meyerhofen in Austria. It's the sort of next big live shows that I'll be doing. And then I'll be working all over Britain and Ireland, and I'll be hopefully in Oz in May, doing some shows there, recording my next YouTube special in Sydney. And as if you don't want to leave your house, or if you don't want to leave your house, you can look at my new YouTube special, which is Andrew Maxwell Live in Ireland, on my YouTube channel.
Okay, sounds great.
Yeah.
It's well worth it, I think. You always make me laugh.
Thank you, Richard.
Let's finish our game quickly.
All right, okay. Yeah. I'm just going to go.